Thanks. Morning. For those of you that are joining, we're going to do our YP Spotlight Series Zoom interview. I think this is part two or the second of a handful in the series, and happy to be joined by Mark Rufty, who's one of our Alliance YP board members. Morning, Mark. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So just to kick things off, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself and your role, maybe both professionally and also on the board?
Yeah, I'm one of the unicorns, one of the few born and raised right here, Charlotteans, and I love it. You know, it's been an area where I've not only been able to just grow up and get started, but able to start a family as well. And once we got on a roll with it, it was hard to stop. And so we've got 7 kids now, and we range from 22 to 2. So there's quite the span in between them, and we have a ton of fun. I've spent the last several years at TIAA and or one of our subsidiaries, Naveen Asset Management, working with them. And there's not many areas of the company that I haven't worked in just over those several years. And it's a really great company led by some really great people like our CEO, Roger Ferguson, one of those great individuals out there. And my role at TIAA currently is I manage a program of early career talent into IT, so recent college graduates starting out, and managing that program. And it's spinning plates, type of thing on steroids, so it's just all these different things that could take place. That, of course, being the human element, and COVID has obviously added a wrinkle to it as well. Never thought I'd be in HR. It's been such a great opportunity, though, really make an impact on the lives of other people in a role I just didn't see coming. My role on the board is I'm part of the Regional Engagement Committee, and we help connect our region. And there's so much more that we can do as a region together versus trying to compete against each other. Whereas we compete as a region together, there's so much that we can offer. I mean, in just these, several counties that we have is so many different demographics, people from all different walks of life, and all kinds of different interests. And I think that diversity really makes it much more beautiful to me, and gives us real power.
Yeah, I love it. And so maybe this is a decent segue, because I think you hinted on this a couple of times, but what are some things that you're passionate about within your career? And this might span between the board and your work at TIAA.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about like, where can I make the biggest impact at the time? Whether that's, hopefully it's in people's lives. The impact that I leave on other people and this earth is important, to me, and motivates me with my decisions that I have. So like, where's that biggest challenge? Where's that biggest impact? And I care little what department that's in, and I care far more about, am I going to be able to make an impact? Is something like that there with the skills and talents that I bring to the mix? Is that opportunity there? Are the people that I'm working with, are they someone that I trust? And the trust is big to me because I hate moving slow. I mean, I just really hate moving slow. And if we trust each other, I don't have to spend so much time trying to make sure that something isn't going to happen, or make sure everybody's going to be on the same team. We can move forward, we can move faster, we can make a bigger impact, because again, always comes back to that bigger impact. So those are the things that really kind of like define my career, help make me excited about going forward.
Well, let's talk about the flip side of that and maybe as a YP or just as a professional in general. What are some of the bigger career challenges that maybe you've faced? And I think you hinted already at COVID being a pretty significant wrinkle this year, especially if you're dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. Do you want to talk maybe about some of the challenges, particularly maybe trust and time? Sound like two big things for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's, it's one of the things I've established first is like, how much do people trust each other in the area? Because it gauges then like how fast I can move, because there's times where just my nature is to move much faster. And it is amazing how much you will slow things down even further if you are moving significantly faster than the people around you, and that's where it's, you can create a lot of problems with that. you almost have to then like slow yourself down a little bit. You still might be moving faster than everybody else, but you slow it down enough that it doesn't cause too much alarm for the people around you. And then you kind of bring the group up to where you're going. And then you just kind of slowly kind of ramp it up. So those are some of the things that I've seen, especially like as a early, like young professional, is that my, go-gettedness, my GSD personality is just like, it can be a challenge, for some people around me. And that's not my point. My point is my goal is to make the biggest impact possible. And if that means you have to slow down to make the biggest impact possible,
Yeah.
sometimes you got to slow down to speed up.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things, being able to read the room and understand like where people are, meeting them where they are, so you can go somewhere together, is huge. Another thing that's like big for me, and one of those key things that motivates me, is there's this Hindu proverb that I've led by, has been a big factor in the decisions that I make in my approach for 20 years, is help thy brother's boat across, and lo, thine own has reached the shore. And to me, getting somewhere together is even so much more sweet than doing it on my own. And there's so much more we can get accomplished than if I try to take the world on by myself.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great little proverb, man. I like that. I'm going to segue a little bit into maybe some board specific questions, but at a really high level, you want to just talk about your experience serving on the board and maybe how it's enhanced your professional career?
Yeah, so this is you just don't know what to get into, right? I mean, I originally found out about the board. I was just sitting next to somebody on the bus, and I was talking with them at an event, and one thing led to another. So I didn't know much what I was getting into, when I signed up for it. And what really kind of opened my eyes, especially on my committee, we've got a couple of great individuals. Simone and Tim are just fantastic. It's how like talented these people are, like how smart they are, just like, and there's so many of these people in the Charlotte area. And it was just like, it really opened my eyes to just like how exciting the future is, like how much we're going to be able to get accomplished. There's so many great companies out there. It's just like, I didn't even know you did that. And you didn't even know that I existed. And how much of just the awareness of that is like really kind of helped shape me. Because then when I come back to work and I'm working with these early talent people that are coming into the Charlotte region, and I'm able to come and say, well, I'm just letting you know, like you might've just came here on because you just got a good job offer. Like that might've been what brought you here. But this area it's going places. Like you're going to be able to build your career here in Charlotte if you want to. Like this has so much to offer you in the region, and they're starting to see it. And so that's been big for me, is I bring that knowledge, that awareness back to my role, and then share that with other people. And it's been big.
Yeah, I love it. It's a immensely talented group of people in the room. I routinely feel like I barely belong at the table with the people that sit around it with us. So I feel the same way, and I usually feel invigorated just by the conversations we have. So you hinted at this, and as a unicorn, you probably have different perspective than most, and several on the board. But what have you seen out of Charlotte maybe in the last 5 years, and what do you hope to see in the next 5 years? It's a changing city, and you probably know that better than most.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember when Hilton, like where university is in Hilton area, was literally just grass. I mean, there was nothing there. And when they came in, so yeah, I've seen the city. The city has grown up with me. I mean, it's gone from, I lived right behind East Mall as a kid, and I saw it go from like a middle class area to now seeing the economic challenges that it faces. And it's definitely at times been a bit disheartening. I think, it's no surprise to anybody who knows much about the Charlotte region, but, in the past we were 50 out of 50 as far as economic mobility. And that's been big. I came from that bottom, percent, and being able to move up is like statistically almost impossible. And you almost have to just like hit the lottery on certain things in your life. And my life is, has not been free of challenges. And I don't want so many people who came from those similar background that I did and a similar upbringing to face such challenges. I think there's absolutely reward in facing those challenges and then overcoming them. There's value absolutely in that, but it shouldn't be like winning the dang lottery. It really should be like something that with grit, with determination is achievable for anyone. And that's where it's like, I really want like that for our region. I'm hoping that, you know, as we kind of, again, like more and more people move in. This has happened since I was been in high school, where the Charlotte area has really continued to see an influx of people come in. I hope instead of it being more of a melting pot, you know, where instead of like there are diversity like all over there and there's some over there, but that we really kind of come together. I think see the even Gen Z, Centennials, whatever you want to refer to them as, even being more that way, where it's you know, less about the traditional norms of diversity and more focused on really kind of like where we do find inclusion, where we do
Yeah.
you know, meet.
Yeah, I think growth has been really opportunistic for our region, which is a good thing, but it also needs to be equitable. And I guess to add a silver lining on top of that statement, and it's funny you brought up Eastland Mall, which I read this morning got approved for that redevelopment that's been going around in circles for like 3 or 4 years. But yeah, I think being cognizant of growing intelligently and not just because it's easy, because there were 80 people moving here every day at one point. So I agree with you. And I think our board, maybe as a conduit to the young professional community, sometimes plays a role in at least that dialogue or conversation. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And just to add some context for those of you watching, the Regional Engagement Committee is new. And so I think Charlotte for a long time was just Charlotte, and Charlotte now really isn't just Charlotte. And that's why the Alliance is the Alliance, but it's a representation of Charlotte and its surrounding communities. But do you want to talk about maybe some things on that committee and maybe the dialogue around growth and involving other demographics in the conversation?
Yeah, one of the things that we did early on with the committee was work on uh, finding out what the voice of the region is, especially in regards to those young professionals. Something that stood out, was really surprising to me, was how many people were looking for space. They were in downtown or uptown, Center City, whatever you call it, like in Charlotte. And when COVID hit, they had nowhere to go. They were almost in lockdown and they literally had nowhere to go, nowhere to eat. Like it was really, you know, people need that connectedness. They need that space also. And how many people were looking for more of it. And seeing people, and that is where really like our alliance, like surrounding areas, offers so much. You know, there are so many places, even within Mecklenburg County, where there's space, but especially into those counties surrounding us, where we have rich agritourism going on. There are places for you to get out, see nature. There's been a lot more of that. And it's opened people's eyes, I think, to what is possible, like what things that they might be interested in. You know, it's something I saw recently, like the statistics around professional sports, how many people are watching less of that. And I, you know, for me, I theorize it's because they're spending more time outside. They're actually going out and doing more things. And when they had that kind of the world shake their norms, they're like, actually, I actually do like being outside. I don't have to just sit there and be engaged with that all the time. And I think that's had a big factor into it. So
Yeah.
I think that's something that's been really neat as I've reached out. I've talked to some of the different leaders of our, the different alliances and different chambers of commerce around, is that is they are really kind of in their infancy phases in regards to young professionals. Like they have really strong diversity and women's groups that are out there, but they're young professionals, something that is still kind of up and coming. And they've seen in the past a lot of their youth kind of leave to go other places. And then I'm thinking like they're going to see more of that coming back. So our role really is the YP, and regional engagement is going to be big. So they don't have to spend a ton of time reinventing the wheel, that they can learn from other areas that have been doing it a little longer, take that in, and then kind of step it up a notch from there in their regions.
I love it. Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I can add my own anecdotal evidence, since I just last month moved into a house in Mint Hill instead of downtown Charlotte, which is great. And I got more space, maybe philosophically, but also practically far more space. So a couple of sort of last little questions here, and I'll throw you some softballs maybe, but what do you love most about being on the board? And you've been engaged in our events for a while. What has been one of your favorite events that we've hosted?
Yeah, I would say definitely, you know, the people that are on the board, top notch. I mean, like that's definitely been the highlight of my time on the board. And the best events that I've been to are those that have where I've liked where the leaders have shared more about who they are and what has helped make them successful. Again, growing up, I didn't have access to this information, these details, like the why behind and the what behind what they did, and that was made all the difference. And so seeing how they think, why they think, getting exposed to that helps me then take that into my career, gives me access to things I just didn't have previously. One of the great events I thought, leader from Goodwill came in, the CHRO, and when she came in, it was really, again, when I think about like the impact that I can make, sometimes I get kind of tunnel focused on my impact can only be made in these areas. And seeing her talk more about it, it's like, actually it's much more broad than I am like currently thinking of. I'm thinking like, oh, financial services, like IT, this is where I can make an impact. It's like, no, it's really the pie is much bigger than I think. So that was something I really enjoyed about one of those recent events. And I'd say even more like that in the future, I think really helpful for young professionals who may have come from similar backgrounds, giving them access to information and people that they may not normally have.
I always enjoy one because it's all to how narrow focus can be for each of our individual roles, and then how when you talk to people in leadership positions, you find out that laser focus is a good thing to have on a day-to-day basis, but impact can be far more significant, I think. Yeah, I love it. So I know you obviously pretty well, Mark, and you and I are, I think, probably overtly transparent people, but what's something that most people don't know about you? I mean, you you led off the conversation with 7 kids. That's usually the easy go-to fact. Anything else that makes Mark Mark?
Yeah, but it is, as you alluded, and like I agree, like we both are. I talk about being just ultra transparent. This rare thing that I mean, there's some things that I kind of hold close to the vest. Just because I have to trust that other people are going to respect them as much as I do. And I don't want to cast pearls before swine type of deal. And I want to make sure that people are as respectful. That's something I always bring to it. Is like you're welcome to share anything with me anytime. Like no matter what it is, I'm never going to judge you or think less of you. Or it's going to just add more rich color to who I think of you as a person. One thing that I would say then, because of that, I share, pretty openly. I would say it's not just new news. Is that recently went in on 50 plus acres of land at High Rock Lake. So that's in it's in Davidson County in Lexington. Beautiful piece of land, going in on it, went in on it with my family. We're gonna have a farm there. There's gonna be agritourism, as part of it, and it's the place for us with all of our men. I have the biggest family in my family, but I have 4 siblings, and one of them had 6 kids, 4 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids. So there are a lot of grandkids, and seeing them grow up together and be a part of each other's life, and that they are the best of friends, and having that. So that's probably the newest news is having that family compound of sorts that we're building in Davidson County.
That's awesome, Mark. I didn't know that yet. So that is new news. That's awesome. Glad to hear it. Well, look, I always enjoy our conversations together and really appreciate you taking the time. We're trying to be deliberate about highlighting the talent on our board and in the region, and you certainly represent the best of that. So thank you for being a part of the call and a part of this conversation. Always a pleasure talking.
Absolutely. And Brad, if I was going to just leave like one last thing is, someone asked me one day, they said, well, how do you fit that into your bandwidth? Like, how do you fit that into like your day to day? And I just say like, who told you what your bandwidth was? And they said, well, I thought it was like 40 hours. And I was like, you set your own bandwidth. You decide what you want your career to be and what you want to be able to include. Like, well, you determine what your bandwidth is. And what makes this beautiful thing of our careers so challenging and exciting is that there's no syllabus for it, right? Like there's no like clearly dictated like step 1, step 2.1. Like there's nothing like that you're going to be able to find. It's a challenge. It's exciting. So give it everything you got, try really hard, put in the hustle factor, put it in your sweat equity, and really focus on like what you can do, the talents that are unique to you, the great things that you bring to the table, how you can leave a better mark for your community, your region, in the world. So I encourage everybody to go out there, just do it all.
I love that, Mark. Can't think of a better way to end the dialogue. Appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely.